What's up, NFL fans? Kevin Smith with you, doing another call sheet short today on the topic of, can Russell Wilson still play in the NFL? Is Russell Wilson still a viable NFL starting quarterback? That's an interesting subject because today is Friday, the Friday before the start of the free agency period, which opens on Monday. Russell Wilson has been granted permission to seek some early suitors. And so he's out on tour right now. He was in New York this morning meeting with the Giants. He's going to Pittsburgh, and we'll see where else that takes him. And so let's get to that interesting question. Can Russell Wilson still play? Is this a guy at 35 who's got some football left in him? Well, when we look back at his 2023 season, you see some good indicators, right? 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, a 98 passer rating. That finished 8th in the NFL amongst starting quarterbacks. He was 12th in the league in completion percentage at over 66%. He was tied for 3rd in the league in touchdown percentage and tied for the 10th lowest in the league in interception percentage. And if I got to give you one more stat to talk about him, having a pretty good year, he led the league. He and Geno Smith actually tied for the league lead in fourth quarter comebacks with 4 of them. So what does that suggest? That suggests by those metrics, Russell Wilson did some really good things. And, the Denver Broncos were dead at one point last year, 0-5, and it absorbed a 70-21 shellacking from the Dolphins. And then Wilson got hot and brought him back into playoff contention. Now it sort of fell apart towards the end, and he ended up getting benched by the Broncos. All right, so what are the negatives? What are some of the things that led to that downside? Well, taking sacks was a big problem. Wilson took 45 sacks, which finished as the 4th most in the NFL. When you factor in that he was benched for the last 2 games, that could have been one of the top 1 or 2 numbers in the league. He was also 24th in the league in terms of his yards per completion. And the biggest reason for that was because Denver went to this incredibly short passing game. Russell Wilson, here's an interesting statistic. 62% of the passes that Russell Wilson threw were less than 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. That's the second lowest number of passes, or percentage, I should say, of passes thrown 5 yards or less in the NFL since 2005. And if you look at the intermediate zone, the 5 to 15 yard area of the field where a lot of NFL quarterbacks really make their living, Russell Wilson threw just 26% of his passes into that intermediate zone. That is the lowest figure for any qualifying quarterback in the NFL since 2005. So, what did the Broncos do with Wilson? Well, they worried about him holding the ball too much, maybe not being able to read defenses in the middle of the field. So they threw an inordinate number of really, really short passes, and then they let him bomb some balls up deep down the field. Where he really didn't have to read anything. It was sort of catch and go. He was not at all efficient in the middle of the field. And again, man, that's where a lot of teams make their living, throwing the football. So let's get to that question, man. Can he still play? That's a tough question to answer because it hinges upon your belief in how much Sean Payton factored into Russell Wilson's struggles. It's no secret Sean Payton did not want Russell Wilson as his quarterback. To what degree did Sean Payton perhaps sabotage Russell Wilson's time in Denver? That's a hard thing to know, right? Was Wilson's struggles, were they in the middle of the field a factor of Payton not, developing an offense that Wilson could be successful in? Did Payton really want to sabotage Wilson's opportunity? I don't think any coach sets out to purposefully lose football games. But it's clear that Wilson and Payton didn't get along from the get-go and that Payton wanted Wilson out of Denver. So now, right, going forward, can Wilson still play? Can he help a team? Well, it's interesting. You look at where he was visiting on Friday. You go to the New York Giants. Their new offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka, just spent the last 5 years in Kansas City, which runs a very quarterback-friendly system. The Chiefs do obviously some unique things with Patrick Mahomes, but they do some things that a quarterback like Russell Wilson, the play actions, the pocket movement with Wilson's mobility, can benefit from. Then Wilson goes to Pittsburgh. Arthur Smith is their new OC. Similar, right? Arthur Smith in Tennessee, especially build an offense that's centered around a good run game and then a lot of play action pass and a lot of quarterback movement. And those are strengths of Russell Wilson's. So if Russell Wilson winds up with a team who's willing to sort of structure the offense around his skill set, or if they're not structuring it for him, he simply happens to land in a place where the offense befits his strengths, I think he can still play. He's not going to be vintage Russell Wilson. He's not going to be Super Bowl Russell Wilson. But I think in the right environment, he could probably give you some solid play as a bridge quarterback to whatever might be next. So that'll be really interesting to watch for. Where's Russ going to wind up? And once he's there, what's he going to do, man? One of the more interesting subplots of the NFL offseason. All right, it's Kevin Smith with another call sheet short for you. Take care, everybody.